Here's a tale of one young woman's frightening experience while eating out with her family. Enjoy. As a child, I always loved when my family took a trip to McDonald's. I liked their hamburgers somewhat, but the fries I could eat all day. Well, not all day. I'd probably get sick after a fourth and fifth helping. The real reason I loved going was for the play area with its curly slide and the bouncing ball pit. The minute I'd walk through the doors of the Golden Arches, I would bolt right for the play area. My mom would have to snag my arm before I ran off to tell her what I wanted to eat. I don't know why, because I always ordered the exact same kids' meal every time. I was pretty picky and didn't like to try anything new, especially when it came to food. Plus, I always loved to give my brother the toy inside. You'd think I'd keep the toy, being 7 and all, but I didn't care for them. I would also ask him to come play with me, but he would say he was too old. He was 12 at the time, and secretly, I think he really wanted to jump on the ball trampoline, but it was our parents that discouraged it, telling him he wasn't a kid anymore. My family would pick a table near one of the doors, but away from the play area, so when the food came, I would sit and enjoy my meal and not be distracted by the other kids playing. On this particular Sunday, we showed up and there were already a lot of people in line ordering food. Most were in their Sunday's best, and I figured church must have just got out. Because of the after-church rush, I was in the playpen for a good amount of time, around 15 to 20 minutes, from the time my dad got into line until when our food came. During this time, I was having a blast. There were only 4 other kids in there, so we didn't get in each other's way. One thing I loved to do was slide down on my stomach into the ball pit, even though it was against the rules to do so. I pretended I was a diver and had gone underwater into an inky blackness out of sight from the rest of the world, if only for a brief moment. Right when I'd surface, I'd wade through the balls and jump back in line for the slide. On my 4th trip around, I was waiting at the top for the previous kid to clear the pit when I looked straight ahead and noticed a creepy woman looking right at me. Her face and palms were pressed against the other side of the plexiglass. Even from where I was, I could see she was dirty. To me, she looked like a homeless person. Her hair was all messed up, kind of like a bird's nest that hung over her eyes. She was wearing a dirty gray sweater and baggy red sweatpants with a hip pack. I quickly broke off my gaze from her own and thought, I wonder which kid is hers. Around that time, my dad came to the play area entrance and shouted that the food was ready. I went down the slide, and when I came back up, I didn't see her anymore. She was gone, and I didn't bother telling anyone of what just happened, because technically, nothing did actually happen. I sat down and began eating. The table behind my parents, the one I was facing, had a young couple and their kid. The kid was in a high chair and had crayons in one hand and fries in the other. And you guessed it. He was trying to eat the crayons while drawing with the fries. I let out a giggle and no one noticed. I remember thinking, how old are they? You know, the parents. They looked like they were just a few years older than my brother. They probably had graduated high school, but at 7, I really had no concept of age like I do now in my mid-20s. After several minutes, the couple and kid had finished, then got up and took their trays. And that's when I saw her, the crazy woman. She was sitting at the table behind the couple that just left, just staring at me, mumbling to herself. Then her arm shot up and she pointed a finger right at me, wagging it violently. I was in the middle of taking another bite of my burger and yelped, but all I did was start choking. I began coughing violently and took a sip of my soda. My dad had quickly gotten up and was patting me on the back. My parents asked if I was all right, and I nodded while drinking from the straw. "Slow down, honey, you're eating too fast," my mom said. "I'm okay, it's just that lady," I said, pointing my finger. They all turned and looked over their shoulders, but the woman was gone, like she just upped and vanished into thin air. Did I just imagine her? Was she really there? I thought to myself. Did the young couple not notice her sitting there too? After a couple of minutes, I finished my food and grabbed my empty tray to stack it above the trash can. I asked my mom if I could just get a little more playtime in, and she said I could have another 15 minutes, then we were leaving. I thanked her and did a little jump for joy. Right then, I realized I hadn't used the restroom in almost 2 hours. I told them I had to go potty first, and my mom told me I'd better wash my hands afterwards. I hated using empty stalls right next to occupied ones. It always seemed a little too close, like our feet could touch. I liked a little space. The far left one was occupied, and both the middle and right stalls were empty, so I went to the far right stall and quickly sat down. As a kid, I never thought of placing toilet paper over the seat or using one of those disposable covers to sit on. If it looked clean, I would just sit on it. If not, I'd quickly wipe it down. As I was sitting there, I heard the person in the left stall talking to themselves. Her voice was low enough that I couldn't make out what she was saying. Her rambling was starting to frighten me, and I considered pulling up my pants right then without wiping because I was freaking out. Then I heard the toilet flush. The person got up and seemed to be slowly dragging their feet while walking, like a zombie. This was pretty unnerving. I saw her shuffle by through the door gap, and I caught a glimpse of gray and red, and that's when I froze. It felt like ice shards radiated outward from my spine to the tips of my fingers and toes. I heard the main bathroom door open, and I sat still, unmoving for what seemed like an eternity. Then the chills and panic within me subsided. The first thing I thought while wiping was, what is wrong with this woman? I flushed the toilet, opened the door, and screamed. Or at least I thought I did. Nothing came out. There, standing between my stall and the bathroom door, was the crazy psycho woman. If I hadn't just used the restroom, I would have pissed myself. My entire body was shaking uncontrollably, and I was stammering, trying to let out any type of sound or word. She pointed her finger right in my face and said, "You like killing animals, don't you? You enjoy watching animals die." The crazy woman was getting louder and louder with each accusatory question. I was shaking my head no, or at least I thought I was. Tears began running down my eyes, and I felt a little whimper come out. She knelt down in front of me, and that's when I noticed her black, rotting teeth and her breath. Her breath was terrible. If you loved animals, then you wouldn't eat them. Every time you eat a hamburger, you're eating a murdered animal that had its head cut off and skin removed so you can consume its carcass and fill your little belly. She shouted, poking me in the stomach. Then, looking me dead in the eye, she remarked, "If you don't like animals being slaughtered, then eat vegetables. Remember, lettuce, not meat." That's when I let out a scream. She quickly got up and bolted out the door. My mom entered a few seconds later looking white as a ghost. "What happened?" she kept repeating as she pulled me close and hugged me. "Was it that woman? That woman that left? Did she do something to you?" She carried me out of the restroom while yelling at my dad to stop the crazy woman. He ran out the door but came back soon after and said he couldn't find her. I can faintly remember people shouting and asking if they should call 911. My parents said, "No, it's fine, we're leaving. We're just gonna take her home." The manager came by and handed my dad a coupon for free meals the next time we came back. But my mom shouted, "Oh no, we're not coming back here." During the ride home, my mom was livid. She told me to tell her everything that woman said and to give her a good description of what she looked like up close and what she was wearing. She wanted to kill that crazy bitch. We never found out who she was, and I continued to have nightmares about the incident on and off for years afterwards. I have never set foot in another McDonald's since, and to the crazy bitch who fueled my nightmares, let us not meet ever again. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time.